All right, now that we got our chart of accounts set up, it's time to actually enter some data and do our first bank reconciliation. This is actually really important that you do because a bank reconciliation will make sure that all of the transactions on your bank statements are in and no transactions that shouldn't be in here are not. So I have my screen split. Sorry if this is hard to see. It was just kind of the best way to do it. If you were doing this at home, I'd recommend either if you have two monitors, split your monitors, or print out the bank statement and have it in front of you and just type the transactions in. I am going to show you how to type them in right now versus import the data. It's way easier if you import the data. QuickBooks could figure out a lot of it on its own and you can create rules, but just to kind of go over the basics for now. So here's my fictitious bank statement. Obviously, I can't show you, my bank statements or my clients' bank statements. That would be a problem. So I use ChatGPT to create a fake one, and then I filled in a lot of the vendors with um, actual vendors that you would see around Cape Cod, which is where I'm at. So first things first, okay, we want to go to our bank register. So let's just say we're in the QuickBooks home screen. I can make this big for this. In the QuickBooks home screen, all apps, accounting. You could go to bank transactions if you have the bank feed set up, but we don't right now, so we'll just go to chart of accounts. And we'll go to view register. And this is where we're going to enter the transactions, and there's nothing in here right now. I'm actually going to just resplit this screen. So right off the rip, we have an opening balance at the beginning of this month, $12,350. And there's nothing in here. So, so let's just say, you're starting mid-year in this case. You'd want to actually go back to whenever you started the business bank account and preferably be starting with a zero balance. But, life's not perfect. You don't always start at the right time. Um, maybe you are using your personal bank account and you started back in July and you need to get caught up for 6 months and this was the opening balance and you want to do a bank rec, whatever. So the beginning balance you actually do want to put in here. So we'll just do like add deposit. And this is as of July 1st, so we'll do 7/1/25. And we'll just do put in the memo like opening balance. And then we're going to do a deposit because we need to have money in here. And then we're going to actually just do this to like owner's draw because this is not sales and we want to make it clear that this is not sales, this is our opening balance. So I can go to save. Yeah, the squished screen is not the most helpful thing. All right, so we have our opening balance in here. Now we're going to go through and we're going to just enter all these transactions. So I like to just do the deposits first. That way I'm not switching back and forth between expense and deposit in here every time. So I'll just do all the deposits. So this first one, it just says mobile deposit for $1,850. That's on 7/2/25. You could put mobile deposit for the vendor if you want. I often just leave these blank, but if you want to do mobile deposit, that's fine. It's also going to create a vendor, which this isn't a vendor customer because it's a deposit. So, but that's fine. You can just hit save if you want to put something there. 1850 account. We'll do services. We'll just do save. Next one, merchant payout. So this one would be like if you're using Square or some other sort of merchant service provider, that someone paid an invoice and then that money got transferred from whoever that POS is to your bank account. So, so this one will be July 5th, 25. You can just do, if you want, again, you can put this, I usually just leave this blank, but if it makes you happy to put this in here, you can. Save, 975. Services, save. See, I would just skip these, 2300. This is going down to this next one. Save. like deposit into it. This would be like, hey, if you're using QuickBooks for your invoicing, and then people could pay it online. This is kind of how it's going to look. So again, I usually just skip the vendor for deposits. Okay, so this one you can see I actually intentionally did this transfer 6789. So a lot of the time what will happen is business owners will need to put money into the business account. And so it'll show up as a transfer from their personal account. Let's just say your personal account ends in 6789. It'll show up as like transfer from whatever bank ending in this account. And so in this case, this is on the 16th. I would actually put something here just to make it clear. Transfer from 6789, something like that. Save. And then deposit, we'll do the 1200, and then this would be owner's draw because this is the owner putting money into the bank account. So that's not sales, and we don't want to record it as sales because then you're going to have taxable income for money that you contributed to your business, and you don't want that. We have another mobile deposit for 1200. This is services. Sorry if this is hard to see too. It's just that I had to split the screen so you could see the statement and QuickBooks. But yeah, ATM deposit. Sometimes people will stop at the ATM and just deposit money that way. Again, you can put the payee if you want. Sorry, I'm also just tabbing through, when you do the date. I always start with the date. I just punch in the number and then I'm hitting the tab key, and that's kind of shifting me through these fields. So services, enter. All right, so we're gonna want to enter all the expenses now. And again, I tried to use like things that are kind of local to the Cape. And so this first one, 7325. This is, Granite City Electric, and then so we'd add our vendor. You could pretty much just leave this the same. You don't need to fill in all this other information. The only time you'd want to fill out this information is if you paid someone who you have intentions of 1099ing, then you'd want to put like the company name, first name, last name, email, phone number, especially if this is someone that you're doing business with a lot and you want to just track that information. For 1099 purposes, you definitely want to put their address. You'd want to scroll down here, put in either their EIN number or their social security number, depending on what they give you, and then you'd hit track payments for 1099. And in order to do that, if you're going to pay someone that you need to 1099, you want to get a W-9 from them, and that'll give you the information that you need to report. So Granite City Electric, oh, I'm still on deposit. We don't want that, so we want to go to expense, not refund, expense. So the third, Granite City Electric, 64218, and this is going to be job materials and supplies. I'm going to try to maybe make this a little bit bigger. All right, so Cumberland Farms. Dang it, can't spell. Just save. Payments for 112.64. This is just going to be, auto expenses. I'm going to assume you're buying gas here. You'll see stuff like this. I intentionally actually found this off of my statement and put this. Stuff like this, it's like, what is this? You might have to look it up. Like if you go to a Google tab and do like SQSP Squarespace. Okay, cool. So Squarespace is for my website. So payment was for $26.56, and then this would be like advertising because it's for my website. Town of Yarmouth. Town of Yarmouth could be a couple things. In this case, we're going to assume that it is license and permits. you had to go pull a permit at the town. It could also be like dump fees. Like if you go to the dump in Yarmouth, it's going to show up as Town of Yarmouth on your statement. But in this case, let's say it was you were pulling a permit, and that's what it cost. So license and permits. Home Depot. I think the AI that I used to create this bank statement prompted me originally with tools. So I just chose Home Depot to put as like an actual vendor. So we'll do tools. And this is a smaller amount. This isn't like big equipment, so we're just going to do small tools and equipment. Geico, that's going to be insurance. So we'll do insurance. I put this one on here just to be cheeky. Lululemon. So I also just wanted to show like, hey, like, whoops, we used our business card for something that's personal. Um, Box. This is going to be owner's draw because it's not a business expense. Speedway. Auto expenses. Now, if you're stopping and grabbing like a snack or some cigarettes or something like that, then obviously that's owner's draw. It's a personal expense, but I'm assuming you're getting gas. Staples. Save. Okay, so Gusto, this is payroll. So you could just put like, see how these are broken down into Gusto net, Gusto tax, Gusto fee. You could just do Gusto for all of these if you want. I do actually like to put the difference there. So Gusto net payment is going to be 1176659. So all these payroll transactions, the way I do this for my firm internally is I just book it to payroll expenses. I don't break it out between officer salary, salary and wages, or payroll taxes. I actually do that in another step just because to stop and pull the payroll reports and break out this transaction when I'm in the middle of entering just kind of disrupts my workflow. So I'll just put it as payroll expenses and then I'll go back and break this out a little further later. And I am going to have another video on that. That'll be the next one actually. So for now, we'll just put it as payroll expenses. Usually when they have these three transactions like this, there's three parts, right? So net, meaning that like, hey, this is the net pay, and so this money was withheld, and it's going to go to all the employees to pay their salaries. Gusto tax, so this is usually the taxes that the business has to pay, plus the tax that was withheld from the employees, and then this is just what you're paying Gusto. So yeah, Gusto payroll expenses. Save. Gusto tax. And that's actually a similar setup for most payroll companies, like ADP, Paychex. They'll kind of have the same system where they have like three transactions coming in. Some don't. Like iSolved used to be complete payroll in Chatham. iSolved bought them out. They actually just have everything on one transaction, which is actually kind of nice. It makes it somewhat easier. Fee. This would be payroll processing fees. This is Gusto payroll. I also put this because you'll see some stupid crap like this on bank statements. It's like, what is this, right? So again, you just go to Google, This is a gas station. Um, and that's actually what these are. So you will see a lot of this where it's like a couple numbers and then town. This is mobile. It's a gas station. I know this because I've looked this up 5 million times, but I'm just trying to show like, hey, if you see some dumb stuff on your bank statement that you don't know what it is, just Google it, and a lot of the time you can figure out like, oh, okay, for whatever reason, that's how mobile shows up on the bank statements. So. Um, just wanted to throw that in there just to, and I will categorize this as mobile too. Not mobile deposit, just mobile. So I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that on there just to kind of show that because you're gonna run into some stupid stuff. So 22nd, Concord electric supply. I actually will, when I'm doing these, I'll delete the first, last, and middle names if they pop up most of the time, just because like this is a company, like these don't need to be here. So 7649. This is going to be job materials. And again, this is for an electrician. So like if you're not an electrician, you can hopefully just, figure out how the vendors you use apply in these situations. So Gary Bourne, that's another one I put on here because it's another one of those stupid things that you might be like, what the heck is this? Like, why is this on my bank statement? And this one's actually a little harder to figure out, but so okay, that didn't work. So Gary Bourne, Bourne Mass, Bourne's Petroleum. This is actually a gas station too. So you can put Gary Bourne if you want. Exactly which gas station it is. I think for some reason this is the one that's right over the bridge. Point is you're gonna look at your statement. It's a gas station. Taylor Rental. So this would be like equipment rental, unless you're buying tools there. But for the sake of this, let's just assuming you're renting something that you're going to use for the day. Fee. I've had people argue with me that this is not a vendor, and so you shouldn't put it in here as a vendor. I don't care. I just want to see what the transaction was for, so I'm putting it in here like this. Uh, you know, I think that's some argument if you want to nitpick that. For me, this is just about seeing my data. So, thanks, service charges. Cool. You'll notice that there's like this AT&T bill pay, so this would be like AT&T, except I didn't catch this until now that no transaction was put in for this. So we're just skipping it. All right, so we have all the transactions in, and what we want to do is we want to go to reconcile, get started. Let's get started. So we're in our checking account, ending balance, so closing balance here, 337.48. And this is as of July 31st. Start reconciling. So we don't really need to be looking at the bank statement. So I'm going to make this bigger. In a perfect world, we could just hit this like select all, and this would be 0. That's what we're shooting for. Is this 0 number? It should look like this. And in a perfect world, we get this 0 number and we can scroll through here and there's no unselected transactions. Because what that means is that there's transactions that haven't cleared. So like if there's a transaction that's like the very end of the month on like July 31st or something, then that's fine because it'll probably clear in the next month. But if there's a transaction that hasn't cleared and it says it was for July 5th, that's a problem. That probably means that a transaction was double entered and you could probably just delete the transaction. But if you're running like your AR and there's a deposit that doesn't clear and it shows accounts receivable on here, which none of these do right now because I'm not doing that at the moment, then you don't want to necessarily delete that transaction because you could be deleting your payments to your accounts receivable and it can make you think that you're owed more money than you are. But that's, we'll get more into that at a later time if anyone's interested. But I'm just trying to show like a very basic bank statement. This is how it should work. And let's just say you were off for whatever reason. What you would do is you would just like pull this up and you would go through and you'd say, okay, cool, 1850, 1850, 642.18, 642.18, and you check all these off. Normally you'd want to check the opening balance, but it was 0, and so we have this opening balance charge. So when we, hit everything, it reconciles. So we could just hit finish now. And then like the next time we go to reconcile, let's say we had a bank statement for August and we enter all the transactions, the beginning balance on our statement should show 337.48, and we'll know that we're at least right, because if our beginning balance is off, we're going to be off as a whole, and that's going to be a problem. So we have to address any beginning balance issues. But as long as you don't delete anything from past months or add anything to past months, you should be fine on that. But this seems like a simple process, and it can be, but it's very important that it gets done correctly. Like if you could do this process correctly and reconcile your accounts every month, and you wouldn't do this for just the bank statements. Like you can also go down and let's just say we had a credit card. You would do it for the credit card as well, although credit cards are a little bit more tricky because they don't usually end on the end of the month, they'll end like mid-month, but it's the same exact process. If you do this for your bank accounts and your credit cards, you'll be 90% right on your books. You might have some balance sheet stuff that's screwed up. You might have some goofy stuff going on, but if you just kind of stick to the chart of accounts that's been established and you do this bank rec and you do the credit card reconciliations on a monthly basis, you'll be in really good shape.